They tell you love is a garden, a thing to be watered daily, tended with gentle hands, bathed in the constant, predictable sunlight of your attention. What a charming lie. A bedtime story for hopeful boys who still believe the world is kind. Love, in its most primal, untamed form, isn't a garden. It's a beautiful parasite. It burrows into the mind and it feeds not on presence but on mystery. It thrives in the spaces you leave behind. It grows teeth in the silence. This is the first truth you must swallow, and it tastes like rust and honey. Your constant presence, your relentless availability, your 24/7 digital vigil, it doesn't nourish her affection, it anesthetizes it. You become scenery, a comfortable chair, a predictable hum in the background of her life, as essential and as utterly ignored as the electricity running through the walls. You are the good man, the reliable man, and you are slowly, methodically, lovingly boring her to death. Old Schopenhauer, that magnificent, miserable bastard, understood this. He saw the world for what it was, a churning, blind, insatiable will to live, a frantic, desperate energy that animates us all. This will doesn't want comfort, it wants to strive. It wants to overcome. It wants a mountain to climb, a riddle to solve, a ghost to chase. When you are always there, you are a solved equation. You are a hill that has been flattened. There is nothing for her will to do. The silent withdrawal. This isn't a tactic. Don't you dare reduce it to a cheap trick from a pickup artist's pamphlet. To do so is to miss the terrifying, liberating magic of it. A true withdrawal is not a performance for an audience of one. It is a genuine retreat, a pilgrimage into the monastery of your own solitude. It is the act of a man who finally realizes that his attention is a finite, sacred resource, and he has been spending it on a ghost. Imagine this. You stop. You just stop. The good morning texts, the frantic replies, the desperate search for a new topic, a new joke, a new reason to flicker across her screen. The silence you create is not empty. Oh no, it is heavy. It has weight. It has a gravitational pull. At first, she may not notice. The hum is gone, but the house is still standing. But then, the quiet begins to press in. The space where your name used to be in her notifications begins to feel cavernous, unsettled. Her mind, an instrument of the will, abhors a vacuum. It will rush to fill the void you've left, but it cannot fill it with facts because you have offered none. So it fills it with fantasy, with questions. Where is he? What is he doing? Who is he with? Did I misjudge him? Was he more than I thought? You are no longer the comfortable chair. You have become a locked room in her own house. And the will, her will, needs to find the key. In the damp, forgotten corners of the Balkans, old wives used to tell tales of the Praznina, the emptiness dweller. It wasn't a ghost that haunted a place, but a presence that haunted an absence. When a man left a village without a word, they said the Praznina would take his shape, sitting in his favorite chair by the fire, drinking from his empty cup, casting a shadow where he used to stand. The women of the house would feel it more than see it. A chill, a sense of being watched not by a spirit, but by the sheer, deafening power of a man who was no longer there. You have become the Praznina in the architecture of her mind. This is the brutal mechanics of it all. Psychologists in Zurich, in their sterile, white labs, recently confirmed this ancient folklore with their cold data. A 2024 study on attachment ambiguity found that the neural pathways associated with romantic obsession and craving, the very same ones that light up in a gambling addict's brain, are most active not during moments of happy union, but in periods of profound, unpredictable uncertainty. Your silence is a slot machine she can't stop playing. She's pulling the lever again and again, hoping for the jackpot of your attention. It is a grotesque dance, is it not? You, seeking solace, find power. She, seeking comfort, finds obsession. You begin to heal from the sickness of needing her, and in doing so, you infect her with the sickness of needing to know you. You are withdrawing to save yourself, to find that quiet, resilient core that her presence, or lack thereof, had eroded. You are rediscovering the man you were before you decided your happiness was something she held in her pocket. This is the fragile hope buried in the heart of this darkness. The goal isn't to make her chase. That is a child's prize. The real victory is that when she inevitably does turn around, when she comes knocking on the door of your silence, you may no longer care enough to answer. You're too busy, you see. You're communing with your own soul. You're learning to enjoy the rain. You're finally listening to the music of your own thoughts, and you're realizing it is a far more beautiful, far more complex symphony than the simple, repetitive tune of her validation. The chase is a byproduct, a symptom of a cure you are administering to yourself. The liberation comes not when she returns, but when you realize you no longer need her to. So let me ask you, listening in the quiet of your own room, staring at a screen, a phone, a reflection, when was the last time you gave someone the gift of your absence? Not as a punishment, not as a strategy, but as an honest, terrifying and sacred act of choosing yourself over the echo of their approval? To worship her as a goddess is the surest way to make a monster of her and a fool of you. The marble girl in waking dreams is smooth and cold and never screams. Her love, a constant, perfect art, she'll never break your trusting heart. But press your lips to stone so white and wish for her with all your might. Then watch her breathe and bleed and thaw and learn the horror of the flaw. This is perhaps the most seductive lie a man tells himself. The Pygmalion sickness. You don't fall in love with a woman, with her messy, contradictory, gloriously and infuriatingly human soul. No, that would be too difficult, too real. Instead, you fall in love with an idea of her, an effigy, a beautiful silent statue that you carve from the marble of your own loneliness. You are the master sculptor. In the dusty, moonlit workshop of your mind, you chisel away her imperfections, her anxieties, gone, her petty moods, her past wounds, her secret fears, all sanded down and polished into a smooth, featureless grace. You build for her a cathedral of idealization, complete with stained glass windows depicting scenes from a future that will never happen. You place your statue on the altar, you light the candles of your devotion, and you kneel down to pray. And you wonder why the prayers are never answered. You wonder why the stone remains cold. Here is the grotesque truth. Idealization is not an act of love. It is an act of profound, subtle violence. You are not seeing her. You are erasing her. You have taken a living, breathing person and replaced her with a ghost that serves your own needs. A ghost that doesn't challenge you. A ghost that validates your fantasy. A ghost that fits perfectly into the empty space in your life. Love becomes a project of curation. You screenshot her best photos, her wittiest texts, her most charming moments. You arrange them in the museum of your memory and you throw away the rest. You ignore the awkward silences, the tired replies, the days she is not a goddess but just a person. A person who is exhausted or confused or simply doesn't have the energy to perform the role you've written for her. The ancient Jewish mystics knew the danger of this. They told stories of the golem, a figure of clay brought to life by sacred words to be a protector, a servant. But the golem had no soul. It was a projection of its creator's will, and without a soul, without its own messy, independent, unpredictable inner life, it would inevitably misunderstand its instructions. The protector would become a destroyer. The servant would become a monster, tearing down the very village it was built to save. Your perfect woman is your golem. You have animated her with the magic of your own need, and you will be horrified when she begins to act of her own accord, when she starts knocking over the furniture in the pristine cathedral of your mind. The crash is inevitable. One day, the marble will speak with a voice you don't recognize. She will have an opinion that contradicts the holy scripture of your fantasy. She will show a scar you did not carve. She will cry or rage or confess a weakness. And in that moment, the statue cracks. Reality, like a foul, unwelcome light, floods your sacred cathedral. And what is your first instinct? Not empathy, not understanding, but anger. A bitter, venomous resentment. How dare she? How dare this living, breathing woman ruin the perfect dead thing you created? A 2023 study from a German institute on what they called ideal relational cognitive dissonance showed that the fall from the pedestal is rarely gentle. The mind, desperate to resolve the conflict between the perfect image and the flawed reality, doesn't just adjust its expectations. It often swings violently to the other extreme, devaluation. The goddess of yesterday becomes the demon of today. The angel becomes the whole. All because she failed at the impossible task you assigned her, to be inhuman. This is the hidden liberation in this pain. The empowerment comes when you let the statue shatter, when you learn to love the rubble, when you find the courage to step out of your cathedral and into the chaotic, unpredictable, muddy world where real people live. The true connection begins not when you find a flawless person, but when you see the flaws in an ordinary person and you are not repulsed. You are intrigued. You find the beauty not in the polished surface, but in the cracks where her light gets through, where your light can get in. It means abandoning the checklist. It means loving the difficult questions more than the easy answers. It means finding a strange intimacy in her anxieties, a weird beauty in her sadness, a shared humanity in her ugliest moments. It is the terrifying freedom of loving a person, not a concept. So I will ask you this, sculptor, you architect of imaginary women, look at the pedestal you've built for her in your mind. It's very high, isn't it? Now tell me the truth in a whisper, so only you can hear. Did you build it that high to admire her or to make sure she could never climb down and walk away? Solitude does not teach you who you are. It introduces you to the stranger you have been living with your entire life. I'm going to tell you something they don't want you to know about being alone. The marketers who sell you distraction, the gurus who sell you mindfulness, the well-meaning friends who tell you to get out there. They lie, all of them. They tell you solitude is a void that must be filled. The truth is far more unsettling. The room is never empty. When you finally stop running from the noise, from the chase, from the endless frantic scroll, and you close the door, the silence that descends is not silence at all. It is a presence, and it has a face. You will find it waiting for you in the mercury depths of a dusty mirror. At first, the face is yours, familiar, tired. You see the lines of worry, the faint shadow of disappointment. You perform your solitude for this man in the mirror. You nod sagely. You read your serious books. You sip your whiskey with a pensive air. It is all a show. You are still playing a part. Only the audience has been reduced to one. But stay with it. Stay longer than is comfortable. Let the silence soak into your bones. Let the outside world and its demands fade into a distant, irrelevant rumor. Something strange begins to happen. The reflection wavers. The face looking back at you becomes less familiar. The eyes seem to hold a knowledge you don't possess, a glint of a personality you've kept locked in the cellar of your soul. Nietzsche warned you, if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. He was being poetic. The reality is more intimate, more domestic, more terrifying. You are not gazing into an abstract abyss. You are gazing into your own bathroom mirror after 3 days of no human contact. And the thing looking back is starting to feel like a stranger who pays rent. A doppelganger. In Germanic folklore, they called this the fetch, a spectral double of a living person. To see your own fetch was the gravest of omens, a harbinger of your own imminent end. but they misunderstood. Meeting the stranger in the mirror is not about the death of your body. It is about the violent, necessary death of the persona you have so carefully constructed, the you that you perform for your parents, your colleagues, for women, for the world. He is a puppet, a well-behaved, accommodating, hollow thing. And the stranger in the mirror is the puppeteer, and he is tired of the show. This stranger is the man you are when no one is watching. He is your unexpressed rage, your secret ambitions, your perverse thoughts, your buried creativity, your profound, world-shattering apathy. He is the part of you that doesn't give a damn about being liked. He is the part of you that would rather burn the whole village down than spend one more day smiling politely at fools. He is your most authentic, most terrifying self. This is what Kierkegaard was wrestling with in the damp streets of Copenhagen. The self, he said, is not a noun. It's a verb. It is a relation that relates itself to itself. You are a conversation happening in an empty room, and for most of your life, you have been shouting so loudly, trying to be heard by others, that you have never once heard the other voice in the dialogue, the voice of the stranger. Solitude is not emptiness. It is the moment when the other person in the conversation finally gets to speak. And what he has to say will horrify you. He will hold up all your compromises to the flickering candlelight and call them by their true name, cowardice. He will take your noble sacrifices and call them what they are, a desperate fear of being alone. He will replay every time you said yes, when your soul screamed no, and he will laugh, not a kind laugh, a raw, guttural, cleansing laugh. There is no hope in this encounter, no gentle integration. This is an exorcism. You are the haunted house, and you are also the priest. Most men cannot bear it. They flee. They fling open the door and run back to the noise, to the chase, to any distraction that will drown out the stranger's voice. They will choose the comfortable misery of a love that diminishes them over the terrifying freedom of confronting the man in the mirror. Because to accept the stranger is to accept true, terrifying loneliness. Not the loneliness of missing someone, but the cosmic loneliness of being a singular, unknowable entity. It is the realization that no one, no lover, no friend, no God will ever fully understand the creature that you are. To integrate him into yourself is to become sovereign, yes, but also to become an island. So I dare you, I truly do. Forget her, forget everyone. For just 1 week. No phone, no television, no books, no easy escapes. Just you, the 4 walls, and a mirror. Go on, stare into that glass every day. I dare you to look yourself in the eye on the 7th morning and tell me with absolute certainty whose house you are living in. Two wounded animals licking each other's sores do not call it healing. Only humans are arrogant enough to call it love. You know what's more tragic than a man dying for a love that was never real? 2 people trying to live in one, especially when the foundation of their little home is not love or passion or mutual admiration, but something far more common, far more potent, a shared wound. Trauma bonding. The poets call it star-crossed, a fated connection. 2 souls recognizing each other's pain. It's a beautiful romantic lie. Let's call it what it is. Foxhole love. You're 2 soldiers bleeding out in a muddy trench and the enemy shells are screaming overhead. You cling to each other not out of affection but out of sheer primal terror. The warmth of their body against yours is not intimacy. It is the desperate, fleeting proof that you are not dying alone. It is the most addictive poison the heart can consume. This love feels deeper, more intense, more real than any normal connection. Of course it does. It's a chemical cocktail designed by evolution for survival. The dizzying highs of their approval after a fight, the profound relief of their presence after a period of anxious silence. This isn't the gentle ebb and flow of healthy attachment. It is the intermittent reinforcement schedule of a laboratory rat pressing a lever for a pellet of affection, getting just enough to keep it hooked, starving for the next hit. Your brain floods with dopamine, oxytocin, cortisol, a potent brew of pleasure, bonding, and stress. You're addicted to the person who is both the cause of your pain and your only perceived relief from it. It's a beautiful cage. The bars are woven from strands of, "You're the only one who understands me." The lock is forged from the exquisite intimacy of whispering your darkest secrets to someone whose darkness seems to match your own. You see their brokenness, and it makes your own feel less monstrous. You are not a broken man. You are one half of a tragic, beautiful whole. It is a masterpiece of mutual delusion. There is an old sad fable I heard once about a wolf with a thorn in its paw and a crow with a broken wing. They found each other in a clearing deep in a dying wood. The wolf, unable to run, to hunt, could protect the crow from the foxes and weasels that crept in the undergrowth. The crow, unable to fly, could perch on the wolf's back and spot berries and grubs the wolf could not find. They survived. They called their arrangement devotion. The other animals looked upon them with a kind of awe. But the truth was simple and brutal. The wolf's protection ensured the crow never had to face the terror of learning to fly again. And the crow's keen eyes ensured the wolf never had to endure the agony of pulling the thorn from its paw. Their companionship was not a cure. It was a pact to never heal, a shared sentence in the prison of their own infirmity. This is the nature of your beautiful cage. You admire each other's wounds. You trace the scars with a tenderness that feels like love. You say, "I see your pain," but what you mean is, "Your pain justifies my own. Your brokenness makes my brokenness comfortable. As long as you don't heal, I don't have to." The liberation from this cage is the cruelest of all, because it requires you to become the villain in your own love story. It requires you to look at the person you cling to in the dark and say, "Your comfort is keeping me sick. Your love is the most beautiful, gentle, and soul-destroying poison I have ever known." To leave is to choose the terrifying, lonely work of healing over the intoxicating comfort of shared suffering. It is to pull the thorn from your own paw, knowing the pain will be immense, and knowing you must now face the woods alone. The fleeting hope here is in the choice itself, the realization that you are not, in fact, half of a whole. You are a whole being who has been convinced he is a fragment. The strength is in choosing the clean, sharp pain of surgery over the dull, chronic ache of the disease. It is the brutal, empowering act of burning down the beautiful, miserable hospital you built together, so that maybe, just maybe, you can both learn to walk out into the sun on your own. So be honest with yourself. This intense connection, this person you can't live without, is the bond forged in the light of mutual growth? Or is it a secret alliance, sworn in the dark to protect each other's most precious possessions, your excuses? The chase does not end when she chooses you. It ends when you realize you are the one who chooses. And so you arrive at the end, after all the chasing, all the longing, after the strategies and the silences, the marble goddesses and the mirrored demons, the beautiful cages and the shared wounds. You have walked through every haunted room of the heart, and you expect to find a prize at the end of the corridor. A key, an answer, her. But you open the last door, and what do you find? Nothing. A beautiful, glorious, terrifying nothing. And in that nothing, you find everything. For years, your entire existence has been framed by a single, pathetic question. Am I good enough for her? You have twisted yourself into a pretzel to be the man you thought she wanted. The strong man, the sensitive man, the mysterious man, the successful man. You have been a performer in a one-man show, dancing for an audience that was often not even watching. Your sense of self was a fragile thing, outsourced to her whims. Her smile was your sun. Her indifference, your winter. Her approval was the air you breathed, and you have been slowly suffocating. To stop chasing is not a strategy to win her back. It is a quiet abdication. It is the act of a king who walks away from his throne, not in defeat, but in revelation. You suddenly see that the kingdom you were fighting for, her validation, is a barren land. The crown is made of tin, the castle is made of sand, and the endless work of ruling it, of pleasing its fickle populace of one, has drained you of your very soul. By walking away, by turning your attention inward, you are not losing a kingdom, you are discovering one. The vast, uncharted continent of your own self, and you realize with a shock that rings you like a bell that you are its sole, absolute sovereign. This is the last and most important sovereignty. The Stoics called it the inner citadel. Nietzsche called it creating your own values. I call it the peace of no longer giving a damn. Not a bitter, resentful apathy, not a sour grape's cynicism, but a genuine, serene, and profound indifference born of self-sufficiency. Your happiness is no longer a petition awaiting her signature. It is a decree you issue yourself. Think of the old hermits, the sages who lived alone in the mountains. Kings and warlords would seek them out, desperate for their wisdom, their blessing. They would offer chests of gold, positions of power, the most beautiful women in the realm. And the sage would just smile, content with his wooden bowl and his clear water. He desired nothing they could give him. And because of that, he was the most powerful man they had ever met. They could not threaten a man who was not afraid of loss. They could not bribe a man who was not starved for gain. His power was in the beautiful, simple completeness of his own solitude. This is the state you arrive at. When she texts, you might answer, or you might be busy building something in your own life. It doesn't matter. The outcome has lost its charge. Her interest is a pleasant curiosity, like a colorful bird landing on your windowsill. You can admire it, but if it flies away, your house is no less whole. Your peace is not contingent. Her presence can add to your life, but her absence can no longer subtract from it. This is the secret weapon Schopenhauer never told you how to wield. It is the final transcendence of the will. The will wants you to chase, to procreate, to strive, to suffer. To achieve a state of serene indifference is to calmly, quietly, and politely tell the fundamental driving force of the universe to go to hell. It is the ultimate act of rebellion. It is the discovery that the only approval that ever mattered was your own. And from this high, quiet mountain of self-possession, you look back at the world of men and women, and you see the frantic, desperate dance for what it is. And you feel not scorn, but a kind of distant, weary pity. They are all so hungry, starving for a scrap of validation from another empty soul. And in that moment, the question that has haunted your entire life finally reverses itself. It is the last great liberation. You have spent years asking, pleading, wondering, am I good enough for her? But the real question, the only one that has ever mattered, has been waiting for you in the silence all along. Is she good enough for your solitude?